We're really excited for you guys to be here. We've been preparing to make this moment for you guys resourceful and maximize every moment for you guys. My name is Chris, and I am on staff at VOUS Church. I get to pretty much oversee the general management of our church. I work closely with all of our directors and all of our departments, and I get to work with really cool guys like this over here to my left. This is Sam, who oversees all of our creatives and the entire creative department, as well as our creative director. And then I got Pilar over here, who works very closely with our production director. She's our production coordinator, and so she's all things production, and they're awesome. I can't wait for you guys to get to know them. But like we were saying, man, we've been really waiting for this moment to meet with you guys. Hopefully you guys have been having a good time. Are you guys feeling good? Awesome. We want to warm this room up. This is something that we want to just have a good conversation with you guys. Really, all of us in this room are leaders, right? Would you not say you're a leader of some sort, whether you're a pastor at a church, leading something in your church, or some type of organization that you're trying to excel in? And really the whole idea of breakouts this year is for us as VOUS Church to kind of resource what we have learned. And it's kind of crazy to think that we've only been on this journey for 3.5 years. But with that, I want to let you guys know we have not figured it all out. We are not perfect. We've made tons of mistakes. But there are things in the last 3 years that we have figured out that have worked for us. And so some things have been trial and error. And so we want to take this time to kind of talk through some things, make it so that you guys can maybe implement certain processes and systems that we see have worked for us, maybe in your churches or in your organizations that you guys are leading every day. But in this specific breakout, we're talking about that we don't practice on people. And that's a value of ours that we quickly embodied into our culture, that we believe people are our heart and that Jesus is our message. So therefore, we're not going to mess around when it comes to people. You with me? And so we do everything that we can to create a distraction, fun, home-welcoming environment for every person that walks in through the door, no matter if it's a conference, no matter if it's a smaller event or a Sunday service. And so I think for everybody in this room, you guys would agree that Sunday is a pretty big deal, right? Yeah. And so for us, if we're saying people all our heart, we want to reach people that are far away from God. We know that Sunday is the net. Sunday is the day that tons of people come, whether they know Jesus, whether they've ever experienced what we're going to put on for them, is the day that we want to maximize. So for us, that's the day that we want to make sure we're going in feeling prepared. And early on, man, we learned that we'd leave Sundays and we would be like, did we not pray enough? Like, did we not pray hard enough? And so it wasn't a lack of prayer, it was a lack of preparation. And so we started building out systems and processes and resources and figuring out the best way to communicate. And so that's kind of what we want to share with you guys. We believe that Sunday is the most important day of the week for us to cast out that net and bring people who are far away from God. And so we've kind of laid out what we think is kind of the process that leads us to Sunday for you guys. As we kind of embark on this conversation, we're going to go through different days of the week that we have meetings, that we review things, that we communicate things to our teams. And we want to believe that this is going to be helpful for you guys. And hopefully, at the end of this, we'll be able to have a Q&A and answer some of your questions. But as we said, Sunday's the most important day, but it really all begins Monday for us. And so at VOUS, we call Mondays Meeting Mondays. And this is the day that we have meetings across all departments and we huddle. But for the purpose of this meeting, we talk through our programming of Sunday services on Meeting Monday. And I don't know, I thought it would be cool for Sam, maybe you start us off on this. This is a meeting that we do, but I don't know, maybe people are wondering, what is that meeting? That's the starting point of what really gets us to Sunday. And in preparation of that, who's in that room? Is there one person bringing in all the ideas? I think you would share best on that.
Yeah, thanks. Hey, everybody. So excited that you're here. Like Chris was saying, I love how you transitioned there and, acted as if like you were just thinking about asking me that question.
Right.
The truth is we had a plan, prepared for this moment. So I knew that moment was coming to me. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
Love that.
So our meeting Monday is really the day where we get together and we try to hash out all the details for what's coming up ahead. And so we have what we call a programming meeting. And that happens every single Monday. And basically, once a month, we have what we call a big programming meeting. Now, I know we're really creative with the names, the meeting names. But what happens in a programming meeting is essentially a group of us, and this is a select few. This is people who we've selected to be in the room for certain reasons. We want people who are decision makers, but we also want people who are seeing things from different perspectives. We want guys and girls, We want to make sure that the room isn't just super one-sided, So we want diversity in that room. We want different ideas, but we also want the tone in that room to be kind of leveled. We want to be able to control the tone of that room and where it's going, right? Because, you ever been in a meeting that just goes all over the place? You don't want to be in a meeting like that, especially when you're programming for your most important day of the week. And so what the breakdown of this meeting is that this group of us get in a room. It's myself, our production director, our worship director, Pastor Rich oftentimes is in there. Chris is there. We got our location directors there. We've got production coordinators. So these guys are in the room. Maybe some interns are in there. Maybe some students. We try to mix it up. And we're chatting. But we do have an agenda. And so number one on the agenda as we meet together is to talk about the to-dos that we've assigned the last time that we've met and talked. And so every time that we meet, we assign to-dos coming out of the meeting. And every time we meet, we review those to-dos before we start the meeting. And the reason why we do that is just so that there's another level of accountability. We all love deadlines, right? But if you don't have hard deadlines, oftentimes, what you find out is that we're going to keep pushing those deadlines and keep pushing those deadlines. And deadlines don't become deadlines anymore. They just live on forever. Sometimes you just got to kill that thing and finish on the deadline. And so we have accountability in that meeting. And we start by looking at the things that we've completed. And then we give updates on things that we haven't completed. And we give reasons why, or, just want to create, momentum about what we've been assigned to do. Then after we review those to-dos, we are going to pull up what we call, our PCO. Well, we don't call it PCO. PCO calls it PCO, and so we just call it PCO as well. But this is Planning Center Online. You might be familiar with this. This is a service flow, and you got one of our sample ones. Actually, that's for the session at VOUS Conference that we just got out of, so it's kind of cool. You can kind of trace back how we've detailed that out. And we'll get into the details of this in a little bit. Pilar's going to share about that, but I want to say that we're very detailed with the way that we fill this out. And we want to be detailed because this isn't just for me. This isn't just for three of us. This goes into the hands of hundreds of servant leaders who are helping out on a Sunday, and they need to be informed, and they need to know exactly what's happening, pretty much minute by minute. In fact, just to give you an example, a servant leader that serves in the parking lot is going to get a copy of this. Why? Because we want them to be able to greet people as they come in and say, hey, there's 10 minutes until the sermon starts. Hey, there's 5 minutes left. We just want to resource and serve people. So we want to make sure that we do our part in detailing that out and just being as close to that final, as close to the minute and close to what we want to see happen as possible. If we think through things, it's going to flow a lot smoother. And so we're going to pull this up in our meeting, and we're going to look at what we have framed out for that weekend. We're not starting from scratch every week. We've got certain things that we know we like. We like it when we open with a fast song, and we like it when we come out and greet people and say some things and make people feel good, and then go back into a worship song. There's flows templates that we've made, and there's different ones that work with different things. When we have communion, we like it this way. And so these are things that we've developed and shaped over time, but we've got things framed out. And so we're going through this, and we're talking about this upcoming week, and we begin to fill in some of the gaps. Oh, I like this, I don't like that. Oh, let's move this here. Let's choose this song instead of that one. But we're not starting from scratch. I just want to make that clear. I don't want to make it seem like it's more difficult than it needs to be. I think that when you go to a service that feels good, you want to break down what it is that made that feel good and then try to duplicate it, try to copy it. So a lot of times, even when we're out places, we're writing down notes. We're like, I like that moment. We should do something similar to that and try to recreate that for us. It's like what Mike Todd was talking about. It's just like find something that works and just bring it to your community. And so we're working through our framework. We're building that. And then at that point, there might be a moment in that meeting where we're in need of a special item, whether it's an item for a special event, whether it's like we had Mother's Day recently, and we needed a couple of special things to make that day work, just to make it just elevate and emphasize a couple of things. And so at that point, in that programming meeting, it might become a little bit of a brainstorm. Now, I want to use that term loosely because the truth is that we never go full brainstorm in this meeting, or we try not to, because the reality is that we want to come to these meetings prepared. And so, again, talking about meeting culture a little bit, I know, we all come from different backgrounds, different cultures, but the culture that we want to have in a meeting is never one that nobody knows what's going on, and never one that, we're just wasting each other's time. And so we want to respect that culture. So we come in prepared with ideas. So I know it's Mother's Day coming up in 3 weeks. I'm coming to our programming meeting. I've got a couple of ideas. Maybe they're not great ones, but I'm going to tell them anyway. Maybe I got one good one, and I'm going to sell that one as hard as I can because I want to see that thing live. But that's the reality. So we throw some ideas out. Now, we might love, the whole room might love that idea, and the whole room might hate that idea, or you might have to sell it a little harder, or you might get some input from others. And that's what I mean about the brainstorm. It's really not just one person's idea that creates the final outcome, but it's the input of everyone that goes, I like that. What if we did this? And yeah, that's cool. We want to create an environment in this type of setting where nobody feels like they can't speak up, and no one feels like they're dominating the conversation. And if that happens, thankfully we've got a great staff around us that's going to interject and switch things up. And all right, cool, that's great. What do you think? And point to the quiet one, because often the quiet ones are the ones who are thinking the most. They might have a really great idea, but that's sort of an idea of what happens in that part of the meeting. So it's a little brainstorm. We figure, I love that idea. All right, cool. Let's go with that right there. We need a video. Sam, get the team. Here's the idea. Flesh it out. So we put a to-do up on the board, and that's really the end of the meeting, is that we talk about all these things. We see what songs we're going to sing. We see what the flow is. We like the organization of the PCO. We got the special items in there. Everything feels good. Now it's time to distribute, disseminate, and give all of this information to our teams to make sure that we get it done, because we got deadlines now. So we put all that into our Basecamp. We use Basecamp. It's a project management software. There's lots of them out there, but we use Basecamp. We put them in there. We make the to-dos, and how many of you guys know what a real deadline is? The deadline is a date and a name. So if you just got a sentence with a check mark on it, that's just a dream. So if you want to make it a to-do, you got to put a date and a name on it. Right. So we'll do that. We'll review that. We'll make sure everything's filled out. Boom. End of meeting. We're good to go. We all rush out, and we get our stuff done, and we move from there. And that's checkpoint number 1 during the week.
Absolutely. And I think what you're getting from Sam is that there's a lot of ideation going into these meetings, coming in prepared, everybody kind of speaking up. We definitely will point out the people who are quiet in that meeting. If you're going to be in a meeting, you're speaking up, you're bringing in ideas. But the biggest thing coming out of that meeting are deliverables. We used to do those meetings, if we're going to really be transparent, and we would all be like, all right, you're going to do that, you're going to do that. And we had the software, and we had everything that we would pay monthly for to keep us organized. And then we'd come back the next week and be like, you didn't do that? Well, no, I forgot, or yeah, I'm going to do it today. And it was just it just became a mess. And for us, messes are never going to lead us to having the confidence that we need for Sunday. And so all of this is just to build up confidence, to build up preparation, to achieve effective communication that we're going to talk about next. And so as we're trying to build out the ideation, get the deliverables for what is needed for Sunday, so we're walking in Sunday in strength already before the doors even open, we find ourselves doing all these different practices and reviews during the week. By Tuesday, I would say, Pilar, we already know who's going to be emceeing. We got confirmation that whoever the speaker is, if it's Pastor HDC or if it's going to be a guest speaker that week, right. By then we kind of even have a sermon title to play with already for design. We're always trying to work at getting ahead as much as we can. But by Tuesday, we already confirmed that we have these MCs. We've confirmed their availabilities. Right. But then we walk into wrap-up Wednesday. Wrap-up Wednesday is what we would call in our office the day that we're wrapping up everything for Slam Dunk Sunday. And that's what we would call Sunday. And ultimately what that means, just like anything, and this is going as far as our operational teams, our worship team, we want to walk into Wednesday's meeting that Pilar's going to talk about here in just a second, and everything is done. And so that we can know that on Thursday and all the rest of the week, we can work on other things that are maybe outside of Sunday that our minds need to be looking at, like VOUS Conference and other big events that we're a part of. But weekend meeting happens on Wrap Up Wednesday. And ultimately, that meeting is important because it's not now just the people that were in programming. Right. It kind of extends a little bit wider to our staff. Right. And there's a lot of details and things, but maybe just explain a little bit what weekend meeting is and why do we even have to do a weekend meeting if everybody just met on Monday? Right.
I love that. And I also love that all these meetings that we have and all these checkpoints, like they all are very fluid with each other. So we have meeting Monday, but meeting Monday is long. We have a lot of meetings, but all those meetings are so needed because then we go into Tackle Tuesday and we tackle all of our to-dos. We crush everything for Wrap Up Wednesday, finish up Wednesday so that we can have everything ready for Sunday, and we go into Think a Lot Thursday where we're thinking about, our future plans, our next Sunday, maybe Father's Day is coming up, maybe conference is coming up, whatever it is, we try to start working on those future projects. We got Free Friday, you got to have a day off or scheduled rest, right? And then we have Semi-Slow Saturday, which is just half, we're resting halfway, but then we know Sunday is coming. So we have to spend the second half of the day getting prepared, getting in that right mindset. But really what we do on Wrap Up Wednesday, we have our weekend meeting, and this is with all of our staff. So our programming meeting is, like we said, maybe our directors, a chosen few. But then on Wednesday, we want to make sure that everybody in the office is aware of what's happening on Sunday, exactly what's happening in every moment of every service at both of our locations. And not just that, but what's happening around our locations. So we know that we have our main service, but we also have other things happening. We have courtyard after parties. We have our kids ministry going on. We might have something. A few weeks ago, actually, I think it was your idea that we would have Tiago Magro, who's one of the artists at our church. We're like, let's do a live painting after the 5 p.m. service. And so that's not something that we do every Sunday, but it's something.
That was my idea, Pilar.
It's like not your idea, and then we find out later. It's okay. And then they're going to find out on YouTube. They're going to be like, dang. But yeah, so finding out things like that, a lot of people who aren't in the programming meeting might not know. So that's why weekend meeting is so important, that we get all this communication out to everybody. So basically what happens is we're in a big room, we're in a big circle. We always like to be in circles. We like to be able to see each other. So this is a little weird for us because I'm used to looking at everybody. But we always like to be in a big circle so we can always have eye contact with each other. It's just very intimate. And so basically what we'll do is we'll pull up all of our PCOs and we'll go line by line. At 7:55, we're going to start our pre-roll. At 8 o'clock, we're going to start our worship intro video. At 8:10, Pastor is going to come. It's line by line with every single MC, every single detail that we have in there. He's going to be using mic 1, then he's going to switch to a headset, whatever it is. We're going through every single moment so that everyone is aware. And I think another reason that we do it is because we also want to hold each other accountable. And so I don't have to be in the creative department to hold Sam accountable. The fact that we're all working together towards Sunday, I know that if I see Sam, he's not doing it to do, I'm like, hey, Sam, let's go. We got to get this done. And so it's not just tied down to one department. So that's why it's so important for weekend meeting as well, that if something's going on in production, Chris can be like, hey, he's supposed to use mic 2, remember? And so it's great to just hold each other accountable with that. But we'll go through every PCO. Then after we finish the main service PCOs, we'll go through our kids' PCOs because they have their own PCOs. I used to be in the kids ministry, so I love them. But they have they basically do a mini service of what we do in big service. They have a message, they have everything. So they also need PCOs, and we want to teach them young. We're not practicing on people, guys, So then after that, we'll go into our staff schedule so that we know where everybody's going to be, our staff assignments. And then we go through our logistical stuff because we're a load in and load out church. We're a mobile church. So there's a lot of U-Hauls involved. There's a lot of pickups involved, a lot of Amazon boxes involved. And so those things don't just show up on Sundays. There's a lot of systems to it. And so we also go through our U-Haul truck schedule, which it's so funny because talking about it out loud, it sounds kind of silly. But really, if we didn't write it down and have a Google spreadsheet of pickup time, drop-off time, driver, what the contents are inside, we would be missing so many things. Especially with 2 locations, things just get a little, not harder, but, they have to be more into the detail. And so, we go through all those logistical things. And after that, we'll go out of that meeting with everything finalized. Sometimes some things will be a little tweaked. One of our staff values is remain flexible. And that's true because PCOs can change up until probably 5 minutes before. A new idea pops up, and we never want to restrain, our pastors from wanting to do something amazing just because we're a can-do people. So we're like, oh, okay, you want to do 3 chairs instead of 4? Got it. Let's do it. Whatever it is, it's obviously going to be probably a bit bigger than that. But we always want to just be ready for those, to be flexible. And so, yeah, we just go through all those things. And then after that, we'll send out a service flow email. And so that'll just be basically a PCO written out with less detail in an email, and then we'll attach it to the email. And we send that to all of our team leads at both of our locations, along with all of our staff members, because it's great if we all know what's going on, but if we get there and none of our servant leaders know what's going on, then we're in a bit of trouble because, I mean, we're staff-led, but we're servant leader-ran. And so our servant leaders we treat them like part of our staff. We hold them just as accountable, and they hold us just as accountable. And it's really the only way that VOUS been able to be, get to where we are now is because we just have incredible, incredible servant leaders that are just heart and soul in this whole thing. And that's really because we get them involved in all those details so they feel like they're really, really a part of it. And they're not just showing up to do a task. They're showing up and they're a part of something. So it's really special. Yeah.
It's amazing. And what Pilar is basically saying is that we're gathering as a central team to gather all the information and then just pour it out. VOUS Church today has about 27 staff members, but we would today have at VOUS Conference over 800 people serving to put on conference alone. On a Sunday, we're seeing over 600 people saying, I want to do that. I want to be part of making a difference in this community. And so we'd be lying to you if we're telling you that staff is running this thing. We're trying to develop leaders, and that's what we feel called to doing within the people that are raising their hand and signing up each and every week. And so really, as staff in this meeting, we're coming out and we're communicating out the details. So we do think it's important, like what Sam was saying, that the parking lot is aware of what time service is starting, what time these openers are happening. Are we doing communion this Sunday? That's probably a big deal that everybody needs to know, that communion is happening after offering or before offering. And so these are little details that expand beyond just production and worship having to be on the same page. But I do think it's important that we are getting that out. And so we've created systems internally. So operations takes that and they have different huddles and huddle notes and things that are going out to teams to make sure that they're covering all their bases. So really we're all working in tangent as one body, because that's really what Sundays is, right? We're all working together to create an overall experience. We always say at VOUS Church that we want you to feel welcome from the moment your tires hit the floor. So these meetings on Monday and Wednesday is not just focused on what we're doing inside. We're focusing it all around, because that ultimately, if we're talking programming, we want to program the experience from every moment and every angle of it. But for this moment here, we're talking literally about how we don't practice on people within a service, within the programming of it. And we want to walk into Sunday knowing that we've gone through every detail as much as we can. And so what we kind of do coming out of that weekend meeting is that we start to formulate that service flow email that Pilar was saying. This is that email that goes out, just kind of reiterating anything. Also allows for change, like you were saying, remain flexible. If something changes, she can highlight that, she can bold that, saying, hey, this is what we just discussed. Something key to know as we're in all these meetings is that we like to have a distraction-free environment in everything. So we've kind of adopted that term across the board, even in our church services. So as we're training our host team to bring in guests, the sound bites we're always using we want a distraction-free environment. We want somebody to enter into our service and feel as if they are home and feel that they are not feeling judged. They're not feeling like they're not where they're supposed to be. We have found you the best seat. We've accommodated the sound, the lights, and everything to make it so you can just zero in and be with God. And so within our meetings, we do that same thing. So in these meetings where cell phones are not allowed, they're kind of flipped, everybody has their notebooks out. And this is all stuff that we had to learn, where it's like, what do you mean? I said that in the meeting. And it's like, when you start to evaluate the meeting, it's like everybody's on their phone, everybody's on their laptops, everybody's iMessaging, but acting like they're on Google Sheets. And it's, so you start to realize, so we by no means have figured it all out, like I'm saying, but there's a level of evaluation that has taken place to allow to becoming more effective. And so creating distraction-free meetings, distraction-free environments, we're seeing better retentions, we're seeing better communication actually being received the right way. And so after we send that service flow email leaving weekend meeting on Wednesday, on Thursday, this is another key component to walking into Sunday. And for us, it's actually probably even more vital because we are a mobile church and we're loading into two different locations. Right now, VOUS Church is in two different locations. We're in a middle school and a high school. And we have 6 services throughout the day, one of those being a playback. And so it's really important as we're loading up content. So all of this stuff that's going on the screens, on the TVs, the notes, lyric videos, confidence monitors, all of that stuff is getting loaded up at our headquarters, and then it's got to be dispersed into these locations, into road cases, and all those logistical things that she's talking about is so key, because that's the last thing you want to be worried about on a Sunday is where is your computer that has all your graphics on it after you've just spent 3 or 4 hours in meetings, and then you've written all these emails. It's like, this can't be the reason why Sunday is going to go down, not because of the laptop. And so it's important for us that we're having what we call a content check review on Thursday. And what this is doing is it's making sure that all of our content is in there. I've personally have never sat in one of those meetings because I have Sam who sits in these meetings and makes sure that everything's running great. And so maybe Sam, just briefly tell us what that meeting is. Why do we do that? And yeah.
Yeah, what's crazy is that this is one of those things that's learned from experience. Like we've never like seen anyone else do this, but this is something that we decided works for us.
Right.
And we just started to see too many errors happen in a Sunday that were operator-based errors or errors based on maybe what I would honestly call stupidity now, which is, I mean, I think it's stupid if you don't review something
right.
and just assume that it's going to work. And so we started to realize, probably later than we should have, that, hey, we should probably make sure that this stuff is going to work before pressing that button on Sunday. And this is just, we're learning, we're learning new programs. We're learning, we recently started using Resolume and being able to do things on SMPTE. And so it's exciting, but it also requires a learning curve. So we started to do what we call a content review meeting. And in this content review meeting, essentially it revolves around anything that's going on screens. And so whatever graphics we have, whatever videos, whatever lyric videos, whatever lyric layers we have, we bring it all in a room. We load it into a computer just the way it would be loaded. A session is made for Sunday. And we, one by one, line item by line item, go through it and play it. We got our tracks computer. We have our media computer, our screens computers, our graphics and Resolume computer. And we hook them up. We get them communicating to each other just the way they would on a Sunday. We load them up onto a TV screen, and we literally sit there and we press every button. If we are going through a song, we play the song on the tracks computer, we trigger it on the Resolume computer, and we watch it on the TV, and we have a guitar in there. We make sure it's in the right key. We sing along to it and make sure that the lyrics are coming up soon enough that we can read them for that 10 frames that it takes for you to know what you're going to say before you sing it. We do all of that because we care about the experience of someone who's coming into church, who doesn't know this world, who doesn't know how to sing, oh, you know what I'm talking about.
Is that the part?
That's the one. Okay. And so we don't want to assume that any of that stuff is going to work if we don't test it. And so that's why we have this content review meeting. And if something's off, we fix it right there. We make a note of it, and we share it with everybody. We say, hey, this didn't work. We changed it. It's fixed. Just so that we have a record of anything. In case something goes wrong, we can reference that note and go back and make sure that we can fix it quickly again. And recently what we've been doing is, because we've noticed that we build sessions in Ableton every week. This is for maybe some more of the worship leaders or people who are kind of involved in that world. We build sessions in Ableton every week, and even though they are the same songs, the same way that we sing them every single time, they're built, and so because they're built by humans, there can be little things that make it shifted around. So what we've actually started doing is bouncing out the files from Ableton every week and checking our lyrics, because we time our lyrics to the click. Sorry, I'm getting a little techie there for you, but we just want everything to be perfect,
right.
So we've been going to that level of detail to checking those things and making them work perfectly. And then we walk out of that meeting super secure and confident that things are going to work on Sunday.
And if we're being honest, we would leave some of those meetings sometimes and things need changes, right? So that meeting's happening towards the afternoon on a Thursday, it's kind of like, okay, if there's a big problem or a file gets corrupted, it's going to bleed into the weekend to get it done so that we're not walking Sunday because we're not making those changes on Sunday. And so the culture is we're remaining flexible. It's this whatever I can do attitude in the sense that like, man, we know what's ahead of us. We know what we've signed up for. Sunday is so much bigger than anything else that we can be a part of because we're reaching more people than we can ever on that day. So we got to make it as perfect as we can. But as we come out of that meeting, while that meeting is happening, Pilar is working on what we call an MC language email. And so Wednesday, we're sending out that service flow email, and then Thursday's an MC language email. And really, I think even some of what you were saying, Sam, would probably be a little easier if we had a building, so we don't have to rebuild the whole broadcast and the whole thing. But yeah, I'm working on that. Because we don't have a building and we're mobile based and we're loading in and loading out of these middle school and high schools, we want to make sure that quality control is still intact, that we're still saying the same message so that as people are getting up to MC at one location, they're saying the same thing at the other location. So Pilar, maybe explain, why we do this MC language and what it consists of and all that fun stuff.
Right. So since we've been to 2 locations, we're one church, 2 locations. And so we want to make sure, like Chris said, that the experience is exactly the same at every location, because hopefully we'll have a bunch one day.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that everyone's having the same experience no matter where they go, whether it's VOUS Miami or VOUS Ohio, whatever it is. I want to make sure that whatever PCO that we're going through, they're going through the same exact one and they're giving the same exact sound bites. So what we do with our MC language email is I'll take my PCO. Can you pass me one? Thank you, friend. So basically what I would do is I would go through our welcome and announcements area. Anything that we have under there, this is our Session 3 PCO from the one that just came out. But on a Sunday, we would have way more announcements. So we'd probably have like 3 to 4 announcements sometimes. And what I'll do is I'll break it down piece by piece. I'll say, coming out of foundation, Pastor Rich will take the stage. And the first moment is welcome moment. Hey, church, how you doing? Hope you're feeling great. It's an incredible Sunday. It's Father's Day. Let's celebrate all the dads. Why don't you turn to your right, turn to your left, and give someone a high five as you take your seat. Bam. Next soundbite that we're giving is whatever the next announcement is. So it could be anything from VOUS Conference merch, or usually on a Sunday we talk about our Connect cards and our Connect corner, how people can get plugged into church, and we'll give kind of soundbites on that. And it's really we're not trying to restrict people on what they're saying, but we want to make sure that it's the same all around. It's just about consistency, right? And it's honestly a fun time to mold all of the people that are going to be emceeing on stage. Yeah. It's really fun to see new faces up there, and we don't want to have the same MCs every time. We don't want to have staff members every single time emceeing because the church is more than just staff members. And so to do that, we kind of have people read through these MC language emails on Thursdays when I send them out. Then if they have any questions about anything, they'll reach out to me. We'll get on the phone call. We'll kind of talk through the moment. We'll do a little piece like how I just did right now, and just kind of get them comfortable, make sure that they're ready for Sunday because it's so fun. But on top of that, we also have, before service starts, we have a team rally that happens before every service. And so what we do for that is on Wednesdays, I'll send out a team rally voice memo. And it's kind of similar. It's the same thing, but we only have maybe 2 to 3 announcements for that. And they're more servant leader-based announcements. So maybe because we have scheduling day for the next month happening the next day, or we have crew week, whatever it is. So I'll send it via voice memo, and I'll send it to whoever our team rally MCs are going to be. And so, yeah, language is really important to us. We don't want to just get up there and try to wing it. We think that every word has power behind it. And so we want to make sure that we're intentional with those words. But kind of, I wanted to speak about really quick how we're always learning about Sunday. And, we're not where we are right now just because it started like that. But the reason that we learn for next Sunday is about learning from last Sunday. Right. So the way that we prepare for next Sunday is by learning about last Sunday. And the way that we do that is every Monday by 10 a.m., you have to have your SWOT submitted. And if you don't know what a SWOT is, it's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And so every staff member goes through those 4 words, and they put the strengths of Sunday, the weaknesses of Sunday, opportunities of Sunday, and the threats of Sunday. And so based off that, we can go through every single thing. And it doesn't have to be just in your department. If you saw something in the courtyard, like we said, we like to hold each other accountable. So if I saw something that I didn't really like in the courtyard or that wasn't supposed to be that way, I'll put it in there. I'll be like, hey guys, maybe we should try and do this next time. And so it's fun because then we get to, in our meeting Monday, when we have our production department meeting, we'll go through all of our SWATs and we'll see, maybe I caught something that Sam didn't catch, or Sam caught something that I didn't catch. And so that's the only way that we can really propel us forward and we can continue growing, is if we really evaluate what we were doing the Sunday before.
Absolutely. I love that. And so we walk out of Thursday with all of the language going out, and we're walking into the weekend ready for Sunday, feeling confident, feeling as if we've touched base in every aspect within our staff, within our teams. Our staff has already reached out to servant leaders. But I'd be honest, we on Saturday are still touching base with each other. So it's not like we're leaving Thursday and we're like, we're out, we're going to the beach all weekend. We love living in Miami. We're in constant good communication with each other. We would use Basecamp to kind of run all of our tasks and our project management. And then we use Slack to keep communications between the staff within what's happening on Sunday during the week. And we implemented Slack about a year and a half ago just to kind of create boundaries around our iMessages and our text messages, where if you're getting a text from me or Sam or anybody really in the organization outside of office hours, it's urgent. It's like it needs my attention. But Slack would be more used as our way of communication within the departments that we're leading or within our organization around tasks that are not as time sensitive or urgent. And so by Saturday, we can go on Slack and you can just start seeing some messages, people checking in with each other, people encouraging one another, sending out reminders to people that we're leading within the departments that we oversee. If there's things that are being changed, if maybe files weren't uploaded onto the servers or onto whatever it needs, whatever location it needs to go, it's all happening by that Saturday. Because now we arrive at Sunday. And for us, like we're saying, we're in two locations. We have our iTech location that arrives at 5:45 a.m. and then our JDD location that arrives at 7 a.m. And so these are early mornings. These are lots of loading in, lots of physical labor. And so what I was saying earlier is like the last thing we want to be worried about going into Sunday is where these files are at. Is things loaded? Are we set up to win for the day? And so we walk in, we have awesome huddles in the morning to get everybody fired up, and we begin our loading and our setting up process. We have the best servant leaders in the world who come in and literally smash setup each and every week. And what's so great about that is that we get to do it together and we get to be a part of the big win on Sunday. But as we get to our rehearsal times, we have our worship rehearsals that begin 2 hours before our morning services and our afternoon services. So right now we would have our block A, which covers our morning services. So iTech has 2 services in the morning, and then JDD has 2 services in the morning too. So we call those block A, and then we have block B that would have our afternoon services. So for block A, we would have 2 hours before our first service, we're doing our worship rehearsal. We would have our sound checks. We'd be rehearsing everything. What's important is that it's not just a worship rehearsal that's taking place. In that moment, our stagehands are practicing cues, bringing tall tables, small tables on and off. Our broadcast team in the back is making sure that they've got the lyrics right on the screen. They're talking to worship. Is this right? You would be surprised, but sometimes we misspell some lyrics on the screens, and we catch it after all these meetings, after all this review. We catch it on Sunday, so we got to change those out. And so we're basically doing all this 2 hours before. So we pretty much, if we have a 10 a.m. service, let's just call it 6 a.m., we're starting the load-in process. So that means by 8 a.m. we have to have everything set up, and we got to be ready with projectors on, TVs on, equipment plugged in, ready to start reviewing all this stuff, making sure we can hear it throughout the auditoriums and making it all as perfect as we can. 40 minutes into our rehearsal, we would call this a full production rehearsal. So now this is key, especially for this conversation, that we don't practice on people. We really kind of started this about a few months ago because we started doing our rehearsals and then we go right into run-through. And then we started to see that run-throughs just kind of weren't where they should be. And then we'd get to our 10 a.m. service and be like, our 10 a.m. service is almost starting to feel like run-through. And we don't practice on people. 10 a.m. is not our run-through. 10 a.m. is not where we're trying things for the first time. We don't play videos for the first time if we haven't practiced them yet. We're not doing that. That's not who we are. And so we knew we had to look at the time slot that we were given, which is ultimately just 2 hours that we have to figure everything out, because that's how long it takes us to set up. And we knew we had to do something. So we shifted kind of the worship rehearsal. We went full production rehearsal 40 minutes after. So this is 20 minutes before our run-throughs. And our run-throughs would begin 1 hour before each of before our morning services. And so this is now full production. This is as if we're live, meaning if we mess up, if the worship leader is singing and like goes off beat or sings the wrong key, we keep going. We start acting as if we are live in an experience. Because what this does to our team, it's like, well, what would you have done at the 10 a.m.? It's because there's so many corrections after the mistakes that you have to go back and coach them like, okay, this is how I would have done that. But now you've created an opportunity to do that way before people are in the building. And so it's helped us a lot. And it kind of provides attention that it's like, man, we don't ever feel like we're ready. Like we need more time. It's like, well, doors are going to open. And so Sunday's coming whether we're ready or we're not. Like there's no delaying that. And so we want to start on time. We make a really big deal across the whole church if we're not opening doors on time. So host team is feeling it, our stage team, everybody's in tangent trying to get to that clock to make sure doors open on time. And so we get to our run through after our full production rehearsal, and now we feel more confident than we did before because now we've run through everything, we've seen the gaps, we've fixed things. And so run-throughs have become lately a little more peaceful in the sense that we feel more confident, everything's running through, we're not going through the full songs. We're just kind of reviewing things, and we've already practiced all of our transitions. By the time our pastors or the guest speaker of the day coming on, when they arrive on stage, everybody has already rehearsed and practiced what they're about to do. And so the point for this moment is to set them up to win. Here are your notes. We've gone through them a bunch of times. We've had MCs put the mics on, acting like you. We've checked every room. We feel really good for you to preach this message and for it to go forward. And so those are our rehearsals and our production run-throughs. And from there, we kind of transition into what Pilar was saying earlier, that we have our team rallies before each of these blocks. And these team rallies, we bring in all of our servant leaders that are serving from the morning. We bring all of our production teams, and we just gather, and we literally lose our minds because we're just so fired up for the day. And we go in, and we give people opportunities across our church to kind of, this is a moment for us to even get new MCs going. So it's like if somebody's been communicating and we want to throw them up there, see how they're doing, if they're comfortable. We use team rallies to get people to start feeling the stage, feeling good about it. Pilar sends an awesome MC team rally voice memo to everybody like she was mentioning, which helps them to feel confident, gives the internal messages. So this wouldn't be messages that everybody's going to hear in service in a few minutes. This is internal messages that, hey, leaders, like this is where we need to park, and hey, this is conference is coming up. You guys got this special rate, and this is what you need to know for this moment. And these team rallies are pivotal for Sunday because it literally makes everything stop. And we get to pray before the doors open. We get to be reminded of what we're doing and why we're doing it. And we really get to set the atmosphere before anybody walks in. We don't want to practice anything on people. And so we're going to pray. We're going to get the room ready. And then those things probably go about 5 to 7 minutes. 6 minutes. If Sam's on there, he'll take it to about 8 or 9 minutes. No, I'm kidding. And so after our team rallies, we now set the room up and doors open on time. And our production and worship teams, they go backstage and we go into what we call a platform huddle. In these platform huddles, we're now reviewing the PCO corporately with everybody for the last time before service. So here's the last moment to make any changes. This is the last moment to raise your hand if you have any questions. And we literally open the room and we'll say, does anybody have any questions? Because we really want to make sure that everybody's walking in. We've given every opportunity for everybody in the room to know what they need to know. We've gone through every transition. We've seen every content. We want to believe we're walking into service with everything that we got. We've crossed all of our X's. We feel really cool. So we have this awesome platform huddle, and this actually happens before every single service. And so different people like Pastor Rich or different leaders will lead this moment, but we'll have our producer go through the whole PCO. And so Pilar will grab her PCO, and she'll go through every moment, similar to what we would do in our weekend meeting with our staff. And we pretty much reiterate everything that is happening in service. We pray, we lose our mind again, and then we get to service, and we lay it all in God's hands at that point. And what we had to learn really quickly, because you hear us keep saying we want to strive for perfection, and we want to make this the best experience. We've had to give ourselves grace, because it could be you can almost sometimes feel like you failed for the littlest things because you've gone a whole week trying to make this one moment so incredible. And for me, I'm always trying to encourage our staff that, man, when those hands go up, that's all that matters. And so all of that we're doing is just for that moment. And so I don't want to ever lose the value of, man, it seems like you guys are just trying to get this thing right and it's about the lights and not, it is, but it's not. It's also about, it's all about, about the person that's walking in that doesn't know Jesus, that has a totally different depiction of what church is. And we here in Miami, we want VOUS Church to be that place that kind of changes whatever public relation, like Pastor was saying, church has a bad PR saying we want to change whatever somebody's talked about church, whatever their view may be, that they're going to come in and encounter something totally different, totally beyond what we can even think or imagine. And so really, that's what Sunday has always become for us. And that's what we always want to be putting in our hearts, that this thing is about people. And we're going to take that seriously. We're not going to practice on people because people matter. And we've experienced a whole lot as a church in just about 3.5 years, but we know that God has so much more. And all of this stuff doesn't matter how big your church is, how large it is, how many lights you have, how many cool pastors you have, or how many you don't. This is all about people. And so whatever you got to do to make sure that you're getting your systems intact, that you're going into Sunday confident, I promise you God's going to do the rest. And so you got to prepare, you got to plan, and you got to execute. You got to always pray, but you got to also prepare.